What is going on, you guys? It's Forerunner, and today I'm going to be continuing my series on my 2014/2015 NHL Season Predictions. I've already done the Pacific Division and the Central Division, and today we're going to be moving on to the Metropolitan Division. Unlike the Pacific and Central Division, the Metropolitan and the Atlantic Division, they both have 8 teams in each of them instead of 7. So instead of going through 7 teams, starting at number 7, we're going to be starting at number 8 today. And the last team that I believe is going to be in the Metropolitan Division is going to be the New York Islanders. And I'm sorry, New York Islanders fans, I do not think this is going to be their year. I'm so sorry, but they just do not have the components to compete with the rest of this powerhouse of a division. I mean, they have good offensive components. They have John Tavares and Kyle Caposo, who work very well together. They also have Franz Nielsen, Grabner, and they've added Grabowski and Corey Conacher, but nothing much else is there. And considering the rest of their team is pretty weak as well. I mean, their defense, they have up-and-coming defensive players such as Hamonic and Calvin DeHaan, but really nothing much else. I mean, they have Lubomir Visnovsky, but he's getting old. He's not what he used to be, and nothing much else. And it's kind of a bummer. And then they have Halak, which he's also very inconsistent. So I'm sorry, but this team doesn't look like they're going to be heading in an upward direction. I could just see them going downhill, even though I feel that John Tavares is an extremely talented player, one of the best in the league. I just don't think the Islanders organization is surrounding him with the components that he needs for their team to be successful. You can't just win a team by yourself with one all-star. You need a core component of players that can feed off of each other, and I just don't think John Tavares is getting that from the rest of his teammates. And it's just a bummer for them that I feel like they're not going to get farther than the 8th spot. So moving on to the 7th spot, I believe it will be the New Jersey Devils, and I believe that their goaltending situation is a lot better. They have Corey Schneider in net, which provides them every opportunity to win because he's a great goalie, but at the same time, their offense and defense are just decent. They're not anything to brag about, really. Their offense is pretty on the old side, not towards the young guns side. I mean, they have Michael Ryder, Havlat, Zajac, Ilyash, Klo, Camilleri, and Henrique. All those except Henrique are kind of getting on the older side, and you kind of have to ask yourself the question, can these guys that are getting older keep up with the younger players in the league, and especially in their division? So, I mean, that's a big question to ask yourselves. And then also, with D, you have Adam Larson and Andy Green and Bryce Salvador, their newly appointed captain, with Zid Licky, which is a decent defensive core, but I don't think it's enough to hold back the onslaught of talent that's in this division. So I put them at number 7. Number 6 comes in the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, they have really good offensive core. They have obviously Skinner, the Stahl brothers, Salmon, Toulouse, D, and Gerby. Good solid offensive core. And then with their D, they have Falk, John Michael Lilds, Andre Sekera, and Gleason. And then Cam Ward and net. I think they're solid all around, but there's nothing really too special that breaks them apart from the rest of the pack. There's really nothing much I can say about them. They're going to be in the middle of the pack. They have a balanced team, but nothing that sets them apart, really. So I don't really think they're going to make the playoffs this year, but they're not going to be a complete horrible team. So I'm putting them at number 6, which moves on to number 5, and that team is going to be the Philadelphia Flyers. And I really like the Flyers. I've been a fan of the Flyers for a while, but I really don't see them making the playoffs this year, which is kind of a bummer. But they have a good offense, obviously, with Claude Giroux leading that team. With Sean Couturier, newly acquired Vinny Clavier from the Lightning last year, with Matt Reed, Braden Shin, Wayne Simmons, my boy. Love Wayne Simmons. Even when he was on the Kings, wasn't a fan of him very much then because I'm a Ducks fan, obviously, but when he went to the Flyers, man, that is a fun player to watch. Very, very fun player to watch. And then we have Voracek. They added R.J. Umberger with the trade with Columbus for Scott Hartnell. So, not a bad offensive core, obviously. On defensive side, they have Mark Streit teaming in Luke Shin and Michael Del Zotto, also with Colburn as well. And in net they have Steve Mason and Emery. So the offense and defense looks pretty good. The offense better than the defense, obviously, but I think the really big question here is their goaltending situation. Steve Mason and Ray Emery are very inconsistent. Steve Mason has been inconsistent ever since he's been on the Blue Jackets. He played that one phenomenal season and just kind of took a skid for the worst. And then he got traded to the Philadelphia Flyers, and he played really well at times and then really bad at times. But he has solidified that #1 goaltending spot. But you kind of really have to ask yourself the question if he's going to be able to withhold that #1 spot for how his track record has been being so inconsistent. So that's why I put them at number 5. Coming in the number 4 spot is the Washington Capitals. And do I need to say anything else about the offense? Obviously, you're going to have the great 8, Alexander Ovechkin, heading the helm, leading his team with Nick Backstrom, Troy Brouwer, Joel Ward, Marcus Johansson, and Eric Fehr. Good offensive core with a solid defense. I like their defense with Mike Green, Carlson, Alzner, Niskanen, and they also added Brooks Orpik. And with Holtby and Peters in net, they give them a somewhat chance to win. And this is pretty much similar to the Flyers situation, I think. I think the offense is greater than the defense. I just say that for the Capitals because Mike Green gets injured every season, so he kind of... I would put their offense and defense equal if Mike Green didn't get hurt all the time, because they do have a good defense if Mike Green is healthy. But I think, like I said, it's the same as the Flyers situation. I mean, Holtby and Peters need to step up and claim that they are not inconsistent. They can be good goalies, a good tandem to lead the Capitals to victory. And if they do that, then I think they can solidify this number 4 spot and maybe even get higher on that list. So those are the two big questions. Can Mike Green stay healthy, and can Holtby and Peters step up to the plate? So with that, we move on to number 3, and that number 3 team is going to be the New York Rangers, and this team is just solid all around. They have a promising defense with Rick Nash, Martin St. Louis, Stefan Zuccarello, Chris Kreider, Hagelin, and Brassard, and they have a good formable defense with Ron McDonough, obviously, with Mark Stahl, Dan Girardi, and then they also added Dan Boyle from the Sharks, and you obviously have the big king in net, King Lundqvist, so they have a solid balanced team all around. We'll bring them back to the playoffs. Nothing too fancy here, pretty straightforward because they're a straightforward team. That's where they're going to be. They're going to be in the number 3 spot. And moving on to number 2, this is my big sleeper team. This is the team that I think out of all the teams in the league are going to be the biggest surprise to everyone, and that is going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets. I believe that they're going to be extremely good this year on many different reasons. So we'll start with their offense. Their offense is very strong because they are really young. They have Anisimov, Atkinson, Calvert, Dubinsky, Nick Foligno, Nathan Horton, Boone Jenner, and they added Scott Hartnell from the Flyers. Now, you don't have really big powerhouse superstars in this lineup, but they are all very young, very versatile, and they seem like they're hungry to win. I've seen them play, not physically, but I've watched a lot of Blue Jackets games on TV, and they play really hard, really fast-paced game, and they seem like they really want to win. They have that fire, that angst to play, and that's a very dangerous characteristic to have, especially in a young team. And then they have a good solid defense as well with Jack Johnson, James Wisniewski, Fedor Tootin, and Tim Erickson. And in goal, they have Sergei Bobrovsky, enough said right there, one of the best goalies in the league. He won the Vezina Trophy in 2013 for a reason. He gives them the backbone. He just gives them a chance to win every single time they play. So I think they're a young, strong, and balanced team that is going to turn heads this year, surprise everyone, and they are going to be the team to beat, besides the last team, obviously, which I think is going to be number 1, is the Pittsburgh Penguins. I mean, come on, guys. Not a lot of you like him. I'm not really too keen on him sometimes as well, but when you have the best player in the world on your team, Sidney Crosby, you're going to do something right. So, Crosby, you have Malkin, Kunitz, Sutter, Dupuis. They added Hornqvist and Nick Spaulding from the Preds with the trade from James Neal, and then they have Chris Letang, Christian Ehrhoff, Paul Martin, Rob Scuderi for the defense, and Fleury. The offense and defense is great on this team. There's superstars all over this lineup, including Fleury, but my biggest question with the Penguins is Fleury, obviously. I mean, he's been good, but he hasn't been to the top potential, and he's been known to blow a lot of Penguins games, a lot of leads for them in the past couple of seasons, and he's not been the same flower that everyone's used to him being. So they're still gonna, I still believe that they're gonna get the #1 spot. They're still gonna lead this Metropolitan Division, but at the same time, you just don't know if Fleury's gonna just tank a couple games and they're just gonna drop it back a couple spots. But I believe they're still gonna stay there, and that is my predictions of the Metropolitan Division, guys. Let me know if I got it wrong. Let me know what your predictions are of how this Metropolitan Division is going to be. And with that being said, the next video that I'm going to post is the last and final division of the Atlantic Division. Look out for that in the next couple days. And thank you guys for watching if you stuck all the way through. And I will see you guys in the next one. Later, guys. Peace.